Welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name is Adam Mariancho, and it's time for another draft on Underdog on the live stream. Today is Monday, July 8th, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's time to begin. There is something that I noticed that I think I want to draw your attention to if you draft here on Underdog, because there are two tournaments that I don't think are going to fill by the time we hit the regular season. I could be wrong about this, but I think the marathon, this $15 entry tournament, could possibly be one of the easiest money makers in terms of tournaments you can enter, because here are the rules. The prize money is guaranteed. There's a total of $2 million that Underdog is going to put down no matter what. And while we still have 2 months, a little less than that, until the first week of the season, this thing is only 11.3% filled. There are currently only 17,000 entrants at the moment. So if you told me that only that number gets like doubled by the time we approach the regular season, that's probably a low estimate. But let's say it hits 50,000 entries before week 1. That would only be 33% of the actual lobby that they're expecting. And the amount of people who enter this tournament that make money is 23,000. It is a cumulative scoring weeks 1 through 17. So you don't even have to win your pod. You are automatically considered for the running if you get into this tournament. So if there is a chance that we only see like 50,000 entries in this tournament, then you are locking up a more than 1 in 2 chance. I guess it's close to 1 in 2. It would be about 45%, maybe a little bit higher than that, of a chance that you double your money in this tournament. You automatically get $30 if you rank in the top 23,000 of entries. So maybe this tournament fills, but it's possible that it's way under sized when the season actually kicks off and the tournament closes. And if that's the case, you have a excellent shot at finishing profitable in this tournament. So hopefully, by bringing attention to it, we're not increasing the chances that happens. But we're going to hop into this tournament and we're going to hope for the best. Let's hope that the lobby fills quickly, because I tried to do one earlier. There's 10 spots left. We'll see how it goes. If I wind up waiting like 3-4 minutes and we're still sitting here at 10 spots, then I'll probably just move on. But I wanted to let you know. And if you're watching the live stream live, if you're replaying this and you're not moving ahead in the timestamps, then hopefully I helped you out and we can all make some good profit in this tournament. But fight me. Really happy to see you in the chat. Let's go. This hopefully works out for us. But yeah, the spots in this tournament it went down to 9. Now it's back to 10. This thing, I think, is emblematic of how unlikely it is to completely fill by the time we hit September. So that's just something I wanted to bring your attention to. We're going to keep waiting. In the meantime, I'll probably head over to Pro Football Reference. We'll play an immaculate grid. But if it's like 3, 4, 5 minutes from now and we're still waiting on like 7+ spots, I'm not going to wait, forever on the live stream. But let's have some fun while we wait. Hopefully that tournament lobby opens up pretty soon. But let's take a look at the board here. We're looking for some players who played for Cleveland and the Chiefs. And we're trying to go as rare as possible. But I think I'm just going to stick with the obvious, and I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt. Let's do that. Yeah, over 50% to Kareem Hunt. I'm just playing it safe, though. But Browns, only one team. Let's go Johnny Manziel. Did I may have put too many N's. Let's just type in Manziel. I don't think Manziel played for any other squad. I'd be surprised. There he is. Let's go. 6%. That's what I'm looking for. But Fight Me says, dude, the marathon looks cool as hell. Smart way to look at the structure, bro. I dig it. Yeah, I mean, if you're telling me you have a like 5 out of 12 teams double their money, like that is the best odds you can find on the website. So $15 is not a massive entry fee, and it's only 11% filled. There's a lot of potential to make a lot of money. Like if you did like 10 of those tournaments and you brought back 5 of them, that would be $150. That brings back 300. That'd be no, you would literally get all of your money back if you did 5 successful teams out of 10. And then if you finish higher in the tournament, it only goes up exponentially from there. That's really exciting. That potential. We're down to 7 spots. Let's see what happens. But Goat Mode says Manziel coming in clutch for once. Yeah, for once in his career, it works out. But Browns and Washington, I feel like that's a more obvious answer. I feel like there's a quarterback there that's probably like definitely gonna work out. I'm just blanking for a second. I'll probably come back to that one. But only one team for the Dolphins. Let's stick with like a rookie. Let's go with Devon Achane. Let's go Devon Achane. 8%. Let's go. Kind of rare of an answer. And then only one team on the Eagles. I'm gonna go with Kenny Gainwell. 0.9%. Let's go. Very rare answer with Kenny Gainwell here. But Chiefs, Eagles, I'm going to go Shady McCoy. That's probably a common one. Yeah, 41%. These Chiefs running backs, maybe not the wisest picks of mine. But Chiefs, Dolphins. Who has played for both the Chiefs and the Dolphins? If you have any names that come to mind, let me know in the chat. But for the moment, I see a more easy answer for Washington and Philly. I'm going to go with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz at 22%, not bad. But we need Washington and the Dolphins. Why do I feel like Alfred Morris qualifies for this answer? Melvin Ingram for Chiefs Fins. Ooh, good call, man. A lot of times I don't think defense when I do these. But 1%, hell yeah, Goat Mode coming in clutch with that answer. Former Charger as well. Love Melvin Ingram. So we need a Dolphin and a Commander. A Brown and Commander. Commanders are not a team I'm obsessed with, so don't watch them too much. Kind of tough for me, in all honesty, but there's gonna be somebody that I'll think of. Fuck. Not obvious. Okay, this looks like the lobby is not going to fill. It went down all the way to 6. I think maybe 5 is what I saw. And now people just left. It's back down to 9. So I don't want to wait too long on the live stream for this lobby to fill, but I'm happy to have brought the attention to the audience. And hopefully, you can wait in some of these lobbies and get some money later on. But yeah, just kind of proves my point. Not many people are entering this tournament. Good chance to double your money. High odds of return on investment. So let's leave this draft. Let's get out and let's take a look at some other tournaments where maybe we do an eliminator. Let me know if you're watching in the chat. What would you prefer to see me hop into? I do kind of like the eliminator. I think that's a really interesting strategy where like sometimes these like different tournaments, like these different type of payout structures, I don't feel like super confident in. Like when it comes to weekly winners, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I would probably try to target guys that play in the same matchup, but I feel like I can really shit the bed on weekly winners. So for the same amount to hop into the Eliminator, I think that's a more obvious strategy. So let's do that. Let's do Eliminator. And there's only 2 spots. So if you want to join me, go ahead. Time is of the essence. And this draft will be underway pretty soon. And it should be fun. It's going to be a different type of strategy than the typical draft that we're doing here on the live stream. But I think if there's one thing that you can very obviously do that really helps your team, obviously you want good players as always, but let me remind you of the payout structure for this format. What you have to do is you have to make it every single week without being one of the worst, lowest scoring teams in your group. So it doesn't matter if you finish first in round 1, if you finish 11th in round 2, you are out, and that sucks. So what you want to do is kind of maintain like middle of the pack floor plays every single week, and as you advance further and further, bye weeks start to be a factor in round 5. But if you can make it, I think past week 8, I'm pretty sure it's either week 8 or week 9. That is when you start to make some money. Let me pull up all of the rules and just make sure what is exactly going to happen. At the end of round 7, the top 5 performing entries from each group will advance to round 8 and be rewarded a prize. Round 8 is the week you have to hit, week 8, in order to make money. And the prize structure starts out at $15. So if you make it to round 8, only half of the season, not even half the season, you automatically get $5. It goes up incrementally every week after that. So what I'm trying to do, obviously I want good players, but I don't want like the biggest like spike week boom bust options. I would rather favor like consistent floor plays. For instance, at wide receiver, like in round 2, I think a guy like Chris Olave, super valuable. Whereas a guy like Nico Collins, who might give you like 25 points one week and then maybe like 7 points the next week because of all the wide receivers he has to compete with, I think Olave would definitely be more valuable in round 2. Whereas if it was a regular best ball tournament, I personally would rather take Nico Collins and that spike week potential for best ball. So it changes dramatically. But another thing you can do that I think really increases your chances is if you heavily weight all of your team's bye weeks until after week 7. As long as you have a full team with buys going later in the year, at least in the first few weeks, if you make it to week 5, 6, and 7, when other teams have options on buy that they can't play, they don't have a full roster, and you do, you now have an advantage where you might have 3 more players than anyone else that are actually in your lineup and are not going to put up a 0 that week. So kind of an interesting approach, definitely different, more unique than an average league, but 2 ways to approach it where you do give yourself a bit of an advantage, going for more floor plays and then very heavily weighting all of your bye week exposures to the second half of the season. But we're going to be on the clock soon, and round 1 I don't think is like something to really worry about too much, but Puka Nacua with a bye of week 6, I think I'd rather have Garrett Wilson given what I just said. But Goat Mode is asking, are we still doing the subscriber league? Yes, we are, my friend. We definitely are. So if you've been in the subscriber league, I know Goat Mode was in it last year, then we are definitely poised to maintain your spot. Hold on, let me make my pick. I definitely want a little bit more balanced exposure in terms of positional value. And like I mentioned with Gibbs with a bye in week 5, Taylor week 14. I have Taylor and Gibbs back to back. I view them in the exact same tier. I think you can argue for Taylor straight up over Gibbs. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor here at the turn with his later bye week. But in terms of receivers, we could go Marvin Harrison. Big role for him is definitely lined up. We could go Drake London, but I kind of see him as a little more boom bust. I also mentioned Chris Olave. I like Olave for sure, but I still think I actually prefer Marvin Harrison. So much volume is in line for Marvin Harrison. I'm going to take the rookie. I'm going to gamble just a little bit that Marvin is the better option than Chris Olave. Maybe that's the bad call because rookies sometimes start off slow, but I think Marvin Harrison is a unique rookie where he's going to be great week 1. I mean, his dad is going to prepare him so well for the league, and the volume is just going to be massive right away. So I feel good about this start. Slight risk, but massive reward with Marvin Harrison. It was between Marv and Chris Olave for me. But yes, we are planning to do the subscriber league yet again. And if you would like to join the subscriber league, then you can email me at niceandblunt@gmail.com. The info for that is in the description of this video. So just scroll down, hit that more button, and you'll see the parameters for locking up your spot in the subscriber league. Just make the subject league and let me know you want to join. I need a way to contact you during the season, and that's how we get in touch, how you let me know you are interested. But yeah, if you lock up your spot, we'll at least have one 12-team league like we did last year. Hopefully there might be enough people for maybe 2 leagues, and we can do one that's an auction format, one that's a snake draft. But the buy-in is $50, and last season the winner took home $450. I believe first prize was a $400 boost in terms of return on investment. So very excited for this year's subscriber league. It was a lot of fun, and it's been 2 years now of the subscriber league, and yeah, I'm hoping we can get enough people in it where we have maybe even a second subscriber league. But yeah, that's the situation as of right now. If you're interested in joining this year's subscriber league, then email me at niceandblunt@gmail.com and you will lock up your spot. But fight me. Would love to see you in the subscriber league, my friend. Jonathan, ready once again. Excited to see you here in the chat, Jonathan. And you were in such good shape for the majority of the year. Jonathan just missed out on that week 14 bye. Was it week 14 or week 15? It would have been the round 1 wild card week 15 bye. But you were in like first place for the majority of the season, and then Justin Herbert went down. Some of your options went down. Diggs really screwed you in the second half of the season, and unfortunately it did not work out for you. But yeah, really competitive team. The subscriber league was so competitive last year. Every single team that made the playoffs, like seed 6 was only 2 wins fewer than seed 1, and the second seed was 8 and 6. Meanwhile, the 6th seed, even like the 8th seed, was 7 and 7. Like you had to get in on tiebreakers. If you finished at 7 and 7, it was not guaranteed. But the 6th seed was only 2 wins less than the number 1 seed. It came down to the wire. It was really close. But very excited for this year's subscriber league. Can't wait. Whoa. Don't know if you heard that. I just moved a spoon on my desk. Anyways, we have a long wait here in this draft here at pick 12. I don't think it matters as much in this format. Like, obviously, it's never ideal. Pick 12 is probably my least favorite pick, but I don't think the ADP like matters as much. It's a really different approach. when it comes to how you tackle this league in the Eliminator. And yeah, I'm not like too upset because I will be reaching quite a few times. I don't think the ADP is like best player available most of the time. Tank Dell, Zay Flowers. I actually think Zay Flowers is a really good pick in this format. Zay Flowers, I don't think will be as prolific as he was in the second half of the year because all of those like big blow up games for him were when Mark Andrews was out of the lineup. But before Mark Andrews went down, Zay Flowers was actually like hitting like 9-10 points per game every single week like clockwork. So I think he's actually a really good floor play. Also has a bye in week 14. I think is a very safe pick. And I am probably going to take him because wide receiver is a position I cannot forget about in this format. But I like Zay Flowers a lot here. And I'm very tempted to go with Josh Allen as my quarterback, but I don't think I need to push the envelope there. I might just want another running back. But I could also go with tight end. And I think Dalton Kincaid is probably the safest floor bet in terms of the next three tight ends on the board. I would maybe consider McBride if I didn't have Marvin Harrison, but I don't want to overweight be overweight on Arizona. It's between Kincaid, Travis Etienne. I will just go Travis Etienne. Actually, no. Okay, whatever. I was a little too late to do it. It was a toss-up. I'm fine with either one. But we take Travis Etienne, and we get another running back that I have inside my top 10 with a late buy. So that's something I'm going to be trying to do. Those are the tiebreakers for me in this format. If it's a buy after week 8, especially later on, I'm going to favor that player a little bit more. So far our earliest buy is week 11, and especially for the crux of our lineup, the best players on our team, that's a good factor to keep in mind. But ETN definitely going to be more of a safe option on a weekly basis than I think George Pickens and a lot of the receivers in this range. Like Tank Dell going to be a very big yo-yo spike week guy. T. Higgins, that was what he did last season. Kind of scares me. I think Cooper is pretty safe. Christian Kirk is very safe in the Eliminator. Very good pick. Pacheco, I prefer over ETN, but a buy in week 6 is the tiebreaker. That's why I went with ETN, but pretty much the same option. Lamar with a late buy is actually a little bit risky. Sometimes he puts up 40 points. Sometimes he barely puts up like 10, 15. So I don't think quarterback is like critical to grab the best options early. Like elite quarterback is not a strategy I'm like dying to use in this format. I'd rather have an elite tight end than an elite quarterback. But I think you do want 3 quarterbacks in this format. I think taking 3 like after pick 100, but before pick like 150. Like hypothetically, if you could get like Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence, and Matthew Stafford, just a hypothetical combo, doesn't need to be those 3. I think that'd be a very competitive grouping for this format. And yeah, there's just a lot of things to consider. But here's the board. Interesting reach on Anthony Richardson. I kind of understand, but at the same time, you can usually get him in round 5. I don't know if it's the best strategy to use, but yeah, after ETN, we see George Pickens, a big run on QB here in round 4. But Josh Allen, Tank Dell, Jalen Hurts, T. Higgins, Amari Cooper, Mahomes, Richardson, and Lamar. Pacheco goes to Team 2. And Team 2, if I'm not mistaken, has a lot of early buys. Yeah, Team 2, 3 of their first 4 picks have a week 6 buy. So they could have one of the best teams overall in the season, and it could all be for naught because all 3 of those players in week 6 might completely wreck their chances of advancing. So something you really need to pay attention to in the Eliminator that you never really think about in these other underdog tournaments. But Goat Mode thinks Kyler Murray's going to have a great year. Probably. I mean, he was really effective in 8 games after the ACL injury last season. It's going to be year 2 in the offense. And Marquise Brown did nothing. Marquise Brown was so banged up with that heel injury. Meanwhile, Marvin Harrison's a massive upgrade, just straight up talent wise from Hollywood Brown. And Trey McBride was super effective. You know, James Conner's going to be valuable. And Trey Benson also looks really good. Yeah, I like their offense a lot. I also don't think their defense is going to be like the best in the NFL. They're going to find their way into shootouts. And for fantasy, I do think Kyler Murray will absolutely be a top 10 QB this year. So maybe we target him as a handcuff, as a stack option with Marvin Harrison. I'm not opposed to the stack. I'm a bit more opposed to like all of the key weapons in Arizona. Like that's a big reason why I didn't grab Trey McBride at pick 37. But Icy Prods is asking, if I'm in a standard 12 team league, one flex, what should I take at the 1-2 turn? Standard 12 team league, I heavily favor running back in that format. If PPR is completely irrelevant, then you want to load up on running backs, my friend, because in standard, touchdowns are the name of the game. Touchdowns are a massive advantage. And while there are some receivers that sometimes explode for like 12 plus touchdowns, it's a lot less rare at wide receiver than it is at running back. So I would be open to double running back in a standard format. But I'm on the clock here. I got to focus real quick, so I'll get back to you real soon. But I think I'm going to gamble on Kyle Pitts here because I want a good tight end. Actually, no. I think the safer gamble at tight end is Evan Ingram. And like I told you, ADPs don't fucking matter here on Underdog in the Eliminator. But someone I also really like from a floor standpoint, I hate Xavier Worthy in this format. Addison scares me. Kind of interesting with no TJ Hawkinson early, but a week 6 bye and the weird quarterback. I actually love Deontay Johnson in the Eliminator. And you can laugh at me all you want. I understand Deontay Johnson is a big reach here. We also reached on Evan Ingram. But like Evan Ingram was top 5 in the NFL among all players in terms of catches. He is not going away. And the only reason why he didn't like put up top 4 numbers every single week was because touchdowns didn't hit until Christian Kirk went down. I expect touchdowns to be a little more involved for him. And I think Ingram is one of the safest tight ends. I think he's way more bust proof than Kyle Pitts. George Kittle does not see a massive target share. And sometimes he finishes with like 3 catches for 80 yards. Or 3 catches like 115 yards, but other times he finishes with like 1 catch for like 20 yards. And I think Kittle is a little scary. I actually really love Evan Ingram from a floor standpoint. Same goes with Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson is not a usual like touchdown machine, but in Carolina, he actually has like top 30 upside. If you told me that Deontay Johnson puts up an Adam Thielen season, I would not be surprised at all. I think Deontay Johnson is actually really valuable in Carolina from a floor standpoint. I think I would never take him this high if it was not the Eliminator, but you know, there's no Jonathan Brooks. The Panthers are going to be trailing a lot, and it's just a matter of opportunity for Deontay Johnson. He can absolutely put up 150 targets next season. Wouldn't be surprised. Canales is probably going to make him the go-to target. And from a floor standpoint, I really trust him here in my lineup. So that's what we do. We grab Zay Flowers and Deontay Johnson after Marvin Harrison at receiver. And we have Jonathan Taylor, Travis Etienne as running backs, Evan Ingram as the tight end. But back to your question, Icy. Yeah, I really favor elite running backs in standard. And I think if you can get 2 of the top 12 in your 12-team league, you are going to be living. Wide receiver is going to be very flat coming back around to you, and I don't think it's a position you need to really focus on in a standard format. Like, especially with only one flex, if you only have to start two, you can almost punt wide receiver, man, for like a solid 4 rounds. I'd probably try to get like one good option at receiver, but I would absolutely be coveting um, elite running backs and a good tight end. I think if you can get a top 5 tight end, you're going to be living. Like if you get, let's say, hypothetically, in your first 3 rounds, you go with Jonathan Taylor, Jameer Gibbs, and Travis Kelsey. Holy shit, man. You are in great shape in a standard format. But Paul Batol is asking, sorry if I mispronounced your name. I hope I did not. Does taking Gibbs and Dave Montgomery, is that unique? A little bit, especially because Montgomery usually goes on the early side of the board, whereas Jameer Gibbs goes around the 12-13 turn. They are very rarely paired up together, but I would never reach on Dave Montgomery. Let's say you grab Gibbs pick 14 or pick 11. Let's say you're in the 11 spot and you have Jameer Gibbs. I would never reach on Dave Montgomery at pick 62. I would gamble that he falls back around to me at pick 83 if I was going to take him. I have seen that happen. I've done it myself. I was at pick 10 and I got Gibbs at 15 and I took Montgomery at 82. And that's the scenario where I'd consider it. I would never grab Montgomery at pick 63. Round 6, I would wait for him to fall in round 2 because you kind of cap your upside a little bit when you grab both of them. And it's just the unique approach that you're like shooting for. Like you're hoping for just a high floor with the 2. But yeah, that's the only way I would do it. If I got really good value almost a full round later on Dave Montgomery on the later side of the board, that's where I would do it. But Icy is also asking, what round should I take quarterback? I think it's really a question of how your league goes. Like I never try to pigeonhole myself into a specific strategy at quarterback in the draft. I want to get the best value possible. And if that means I'm drafting Josh Allen 10 picks past ADP in the 4th round, I'm definitely doing it. But it could also mean I am waiting until round 12 and I'm grabbing the last quarterback off the board in terms of teams with a starter. Like, I'm not afraid to do that at all. It's really just like, what type of value am I getting? Oh, God. I don't really want to force the issue with another Jags receiver, but it's going to be very hard to replicate this type of value later on. And maybe it's a bad call, but I think I'm going to just take the value 12 picks past ADP on Brian Thomas. I think that's the move. We need receivers, and I kind of feel like he could be more valuable than Christian Kirk. Definitely a gamble here, but given the ADP really going down, I am comfortable with it. But Kyler's really interesting. James Conner is really interesting. Even Cortland Sutton is very interesting. I will go James Conner. I think with a late buy, he's going to be pretty solid, but reports indicate he is the clear RB1 to start the season. And I don't think Trey Benson is going to be a big threat until after the bye week. Maybe James Conner gets hurt and I eat my words on this. Maybe this pick is not good, but I think in this format specifically, early on in the season, James Conner has the opportunity in front of him and can definitely put up 15 points per game in the first 2 months of the season. That's what he was doing to close the year out with Kyler Murray last year. In the 8 games he played with Kyler, James Conner averaged 16.6 points per game. I know that because I am editing a video in terms of my running back rankings. I'm almost done with it, and I'm going to post it later today, if not, probably tomorrow morning, actually. And James Conner was really fucking good. He was a top 10 option to close out last season when healthy with Kyler Murray. So he's going to be really valuable early in the season. And in the Eliminator, I'm really just trying to make it to week 8 and then just hope for the best. Like, as long as I make it to week 8 and I actually make a return on my investment, that's all I care about in this format. Everything else is just a plus, but we're really just focusing on advancing past round 7. That's where the prizes start in this format, and that's what I care about the most. Just advance to week 8. Everything else is just a bonus in the eliminator here. But James Conner is my pick. I may regret Brian Thomas a little bit, but I'm high on him, and given it was a big value, I think it'll work out. I am a little heavy on Jaguars though. I have ETN, I have Ingram, and I have Brian Thomas. At least 2 of them every week are going to be in my lineup. That's pretty likely. But maybe Cortland Sutton was a better option. Sutton's going to be super safe as like the only receiver that matters in Denver. I think Bo Nix will keep him from a floor standpoint pretty viable in 2024. Cortland Sutton, a good pick here in the Eliminator. Oh, I forgot to mention, I do have some news regarding the quality of these live streams. Some very exciting news for me. If you don't really care about the behind the scenes type of things, about the technical aspects of the YouTube channel, then you may really not give a shit at all. But I finally invested in a power cable for my camera. It is not relying on the batteries anymore. I got really fed up with having to swap them out because the battery that came with this camera, the Canon brand battery, is still working very well. Goes in and out of the camera slot super quickly. Have no issues with it. It's instant. But because it's a little bit older, the time, the like lifespan of the battery has been diminishing, and I have to use the other batteries that I have that I bought off of Amazon that are not Canon brand, and those bitches have been really losing a lot of life. They die very quickly, and they've also gotten a little bit inflated in the center to the point where they get like stuck in the camera. And when I do these live streams and I have to swap it out while I'm streaming, that shit is annoying as fuck. Sometimes you've seen me take like 2+ minutes to swap out the battery. So we're not dealing with that anymore. We have a cable, and you're never going to see me lose picture on these live streams again. So I waited a little too long to do that, but I was just stubborn about it. And yeah, very exciting. Very happy to do that. It was also cheap as fuck. I'm kind of pissed that I didn't do it sooner, because it was like not even 12-13 bucks on Amazon. I think it was like 11.50. But yeah, so round of applause. I'm patting myself on the back for finally taking my medicine in regards to that. But Jonathan is asking, do you play Dynasty? I've got one roster spot for tight end depth, and my options are Noah Fant or Isaiah Likely. I do not play Dynasty, but I don't think that I like have to have like a concept of like, who I like long term. If you were gonna ask me about like trading in Dynasty, that is where I'm like, I don't know what the fuck like a second round, first round pick is valued at like a year or two from now. Like that I don't understand. But in terms of like who I'd rather have for Dynasty straight up, I think if it's just depth, I'd rather gamble on Isaiah Likely, given how massive his upside was last year in Baltimore. I think I'd rather take the shot that we're going to see some injuries for Mark Andrews, or perhaps some more 2 tight end sets, as Likely gains a little bit more experience in the NFL. I think there is way more upside for Isaiah Likely, whereas Fant is at best the option number 4 in his offense. But I'm actually glad I grabbed a receiver there, because receiver has dried up quickly. But I cannot ignore QB, and I mentioned him earlier. I actually really like Brock Purdy. From a floor standpoint, I really trust him. I also have lined myself up for a Jaguars stack, so I might do that as well. We have 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 quarterback now. I hate Javonte Williams. I'm not a fan of Devin Singletary. I am not too excited about these options. I feel really good about our running backs. I don't love receiver here. The only one I'm like kind of interested in is Brandon Cooks, but I think for the sake of our team, I'd rather have a really good QB2. I'm going to go with Brock Purdy and Trevor Lawrence as our quarterbacks in this draft. So I do not regret passing on Kyler Murray at all. I'm shooting for a safe floor, not exactly the highest ceiling, and grabbing James Conner and being able to pass on running back here, where it is very, very gross. Um, yeah, I feel good about our team. We do have a Jags stack, and honestly, I can't tell you if that's like the best strategy or perhaps a liability here in the Eliminator setting. But fuck it. Not gonna move off of that after I've already kind of committed. But now I'm completely done drafting Jaguars. I'm definitely not grabbing Gabe Davis or like a shot on like Parker Washington. But I don't think anyone's doing that anyways. Definitely not drafting Tank Bigsby. That is for sure. But yeah, just straight up for Dynasty, Jonathan, I think I'd rather have Isaiah Likely. Um, Maybe not as much starting value to start off this season, but I think if you told me like 2-3 years from now who would have a higher chance of being in your lineup, or even just like next year, I'd probably say Likely. I don't even think Noah Fant is like a top 20 tight end this season, and he probably has like the most value he's had of his career, at least in Seattle, given they moved off of some other options and gave him a contract. But Fant is more of like a floor piece. Likely is more of like the swing for the fence, where if Andrews were to go down, you'd have Likely as a top 8, if not top 10 tight end. He was so efficient last year when he filled in for Andrews. Let's take a look at Isaiah Likely real quick, just to confirm what I am saying. Starting after that Bengals game, when Likely became the starter, Likely played 6 games, 28 targets, 4.7 per game, 3.5 per game. That's pretty typical for any tight end. But 53.7 yards per game is on the high end of the averages. That's definitely better than average. And 5 touchdowns, that's where it was super, super exciting for fantasy purposes. That is what you want from a tight end. So yeah, I would go Isaiah Likely in terms of bench stashes and dynasty value. He's still only 24 years old. Still very young is Isaiah Likely. But are we on the clock soon? Not quite yet. Jonathan's also asking, Laporta and McBride are my tight ends right now. I'll probably just stash Likely. Oh yeah, if you have 2 elite guys like that, you do not need Noah Fant. Like there's almost no scenario where Noah Fant's going to find his way into your lineup. Likely is the swing for the fence that you would rather have. In my opinion, that's the play. But good for you having 2 superb young tight ends. Like McBride's entering year 3, Laporta year 2. You are set up for success in Dynasty with that combo. Good for you, man. Good for you. After our Trevor Lawrence pick, we see Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Adonai Mitchell, Dallas Goedert, Javonte Williams, Devin Singletary, Brandon Cooks, Jerome Ford goes. I would love to see Jerome Ford on this roster, but that's okay. A very justified reach at pick 117. Khalil Shakir, Tua, Blake Corum, kind of a risky pick in the Eliminator. Dontavian Wicks, Dalton Schultz, Trey Benson, Mike Williams. And Team 5 is on the clock. They go Gus Edwards. I'm probably going to target maybe a tight end 2. We can call it done at the position. I'm going to feel pretty safe with a combo of Pat Freiermuth, Evan Ingram, honestly, if that's what we're looking at. I feel really good about our running backs as well, but I think this is the format you probably want like 6 of them. I think if I can go with 3 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, 5 or 6 running backs. Ideally, it would be 5. That way I can go 8 receivers. If I go 6 running backs, I have to take 7 wide receivers. But Freiermuth goes. That's a bit of a bummer. And I would really prefer to have Ezekiel Elliott over Eckler on this team. But it's not going to be that big of a deal either which way. I might even go Zach Charbonnet for that elite upside. I do not trust Jerry Jeudy. Not at all. Zeke goes, so that's who we wanted. Yeah, there's a lot of scary handcuffs here. I think I'm just going to go with Charbonnet. Week 10 bye, comfortable with that. And then at receiver, we want a high floor. There's no way we gamble on a guy like Ricky Pearsall here. But Jalen Polk, I actually think is really interesting. However, Jahan Dotson probably has the biggest path to success. They both have week 14 buys. It's a toss-up. Do we go Jahan Dotson, Jalen Polk? I'm a bigger fan of Polk. There's some rave reviews about him, but he's a rookie. He could start off really slow. Meanwhile, Jahan Dotson played like shit last year. This is not ideal, but I think I'm just going to go with the veteran in Jahan Dotson just because I already have the rookie Brian Thomas on this roster. I need receiver. I also have the rookie Marvin Harrison, and I think grabbing a third rookie is a little bit scary. I'm going to hope that Dotson has a bounce back. There's no Curtis Samuel in that offense anymore. Much better quarterback situation with Jaden Daniels, and it's really just Terry McLaurin above him. Let's just hope and pray that they don't trade for Brandon Ayuk in Washington. But that's a tough spot in the draft here. I wish I had another receiver to feel a little better. But I don't regret grabbing James Conner over Courtland Sutton. That would be the only other pick I think I could have maybe made to bolster our receiver position. Otherwise, I would have had to reach on Brandon Cooks over Trevor Lawrence, and I don't think that is that valuable. Cooks is a boom-bust option. Cooks sees very little volume. He was barely getting like 5 targets per game. Even when he was playing well, it was all just like on the back of like touchdowns in Dallas last year. So I have no regrets, but maybe I should have gone Polk. That's the only like toss-up pick I think I've had up to this point. But a reminder of this roster, we go Jonathan Taylor at pick 12, Marvin Harrison pick 13. We grab Zay Flowers, Travis Etienne at the 3-4 turn, keeping it balanced. Then we go Evan Ingram, very safe floor play at tight end at pick 60. Was not going to make it back to us at 84, so I think it's justified. When you're at pick 12, you have to reach sometimes. I also reach on Deontay Johnson, and I think from a floor standpoint, there is 10-plus target per game potential from Deontay. Very safe floor play, in my opinion. Not as valuable in a regular best ball league, but on the Eliminator, very safe. And then we get a good value on Brian Thomas, but Courtland Sutton was definitely a player I was considering. I went James Conner instead in round 8, and I think he has a lot of value early in the season. Then I double tap quarterback at the 9-10 turn with Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence. Feel pretty comfortable with that duo. And then Zach Charbonnet, our RB4, Jahan Dotson, our wide receiver 5. And because of who we have at running back, I think I can get away with just taking 5. I think that's the way to go. That way I can take 8 receivers, only 1 more tight end, and feel pretty comfortable with a third quarterback calling it a day in this setting. But guys we're targeting. Mooney's pretty boom bust. I'm not in love with Darnell Mooney. However, I think Chuba Hubbard is by far and away the safest running back option, going to be very valuable in the month of September. And we just want to advance to week 8 and make a prayer after that that our team's viable. So very much safer pick than Lloyd, Chandler, Wright especially. McLaughlin's kind of interesting, but in a much bigger committee. Chuba Hubbard is by far and away the most valuable running back left on the board. But people are sticking to ADP. They're not reaching on him. I think that's unwise, but hopefully no one in this league is watching and nobody snipes me, or maybe they just know what they're doing and they snipe me. But wide receiver is fucking gross. Very gross. I think I could talk myself into Adam Thielen as well. Pop Douglas is interesting. Not a touchdown guy, but doesn't need to be in this setting. What are we looking at tight end? Tight end is kind of drying up. I think I'm going to hope I can get Tyler Conklin at a value later on. Might regret it, but we do have Evan Ingram. I think it's worth gambling on. Thielen goes. Okay. I'm not taking Pearsall. I'm not taking Mooney. I'm not taking Burton. Burton's actually very interesting, as always, but from a safety net standpoint, I think I would rather have Demario Douglas. Gonna take Demario Douglas. And then I will absolutely take Chuba Hubbard. As I mentioned, I think he's the most valuable running back at this point. I think I can call it a day at running back. I think I have some really good options. And as long as they stay healthy, we are living. Everyone has a bye as early, if not later, than week 10. And we're definitely competing at that position. Our wide receiver spot, also earliest bye so far, is week 11. We're tripling up on week 14, but it's not the end of the world. We're going to be grabbing 2 more. We need another tight end, but Conklin has a bye in week 12. I cannot pair him with Evan Ingram. That is not safe. I do not want a 0 at any position. So gonna avoid it. Gonna look elsewhere. And maybe I grab a guy like Hayden Hurst or Greg Dulcich. But it's way too early to put them in the queue. Just would rather play it safe. Hunter Henry, definitely valuable. There's no way he falls to me, though. At, what am I looking at? Pick 180. Yeah, it's another 20 picks. There's no way Hunter Henry falls. 20 more picks. But we need one more quarterback. I think I can absolutely justify a Bryce Young stack. I think Geno Smith is more valuable, though. Would love to have Geno Smith. I think Baker Mayfield also very safe. Would prefer them over Bryce Young. But we do have Deontay Johnson and Chuba Hubbard. It's not insane to grab Bryce Young, but if I do take him, it's going to be way later. Yeah, I'm hopeful for Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield coming back around. I mean, we might as well put him in the queue, but Hunter Henry definitely a player we're targeting. And then the rest of it is just mostly wide receiver because we are done at running back. But Hunter Henry goes, yeah, not surprising at all. Always love me some Demarcus Robinson. I think Tyler Boyd is very valuable in this league. Even just a regular format, I think Boyd is actually super safe. But I think that's the only one I'm like dying to draft other than DeMarcus. So we'll cool it. Let's take a look at the board as it comes back around to us. I think that's probably more exciting from an audience standpoint to watch the board trickle along. But that's my strategy so far. Those are players I'm targeting, just to let you know. As a reminder, this is not a regular best ball league. This is the Eliminator, and the strategy is definitely different. All right. Conklin goes. I think he's a very safe play, very valuable in this setting. But unfortunately, I have a week 12 bye with Evan Ingram, and I'd rather not double up. If you are going to do it, it's helpful that it's later on in the season. Like if you double up on tight end in week 6, that's not good. That's pretty risky. But maybe we pair up Engram with like an early bye week type of guy, like maybe Jonnu Smith hypothetically, bye week in week 6, and hope for the best. Maybe we grab Hayden Hurst, also very early bye week, just to space it out. I think at this point, bye weeks are pretty irrelevant. None of the players I'm going to be drafting are like super critical for my team. So it's really just best player available. At this point in the draft, I don't really give a shit if a player has like I think Boyd has an early bye week. Yeah, bye in week 5. I'm not going to let that stop me at all. But we have 6 more picks. Baker Mayfield goes off the board, so quarterback dried up a little bit. I'm glad we have 2 I feel safe with Purdy and Trevor Lawrence. 2 top 15 options. Geno goes 167, Baker 173. Now we see Deshaun Watson, Ray Davis come off the board. Noah Fant went really early in this league. Wow. Pick 160. Big reach on Noah Fant. I mean, I kind of understand it, but ultimately he's not a touchdown type of guy. I'd rather have Conklin than Noah Fant. Higher floor, higher upside. I think Fant was way overvalued by Team 9 in this draft, but who knows? Maybe that works out for him. Maybe I'm wrong. No fucking chance I'm grabbing Ben Sinnott, though. Hell no. Sinnott scares the shit out of me, even if it wasn't the Eliminator. Here, very terrified to grab Sinnott. I think I could just double up on wide receiver because we are a bit thin at that position, and I do need another 2 of them. We have Marvin Harrison, but he's also really critical for our team. If you told me there was a game where Marvin Harrison was really ineffective and instead all the production went to Michael Wilson, I wouldn't be entirely surprised. So we're going to mitigate that risk and double up on Cardinals receivers, the top 2. And that's just a hedge that maybe Harrison has a bad week in, like, let's say week 4, and Michael Wilson is the guy you want. We're just guaranteeing some production there. And then, like I mentioned, I really trust Tyler Boyd from a volume standpoint. I think he had like 100 targets last year. And he has the same offensive coordinator. The coach of Tennessee was the coordinator for the Bengals the last few seasons. He had 98 targets, just under 100. I was almost precise with that stat there. But 98 targets last year, going to repeat as the slot option in this offense. And you know it's a pass-heavy system. I think Boyd is pretty valuable, even if it's not the Eliminator. I think where he's going, he's one of the last receivers I'm actually like pretty confident in seeing a high volume of targets. So that means we're done at receiver. We have 8 of them right now. Our receivers are Marvin Harrison, Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson, Brian Thomas, Jahan Dotson, Demario Douglas, Michael Wilson, Tyler Boyd. Boyd is the only one with a bye earlier than week 11. But at running back, we have Jonathan Taylor, Travis Etienne. We also have James Conner, definitely poised for higher value early in the season. We have Charbonnet, who's a pretty safe floor option in terms of backups. Definitely has a weekly role, but if Walker were to go down, he would be a top 15 running back right away. And we also have Chuba Hubbard, who's going to be putting up good stats in the month of September. Definitely going to help our roster advance, hopefully at least to week 8. That is when the payouts begin in this format. So that's the strategy. Early production is the name of the game. And for that reason, I am probably going to talk myself into drafting Sam Darnold once again. I know It sounds stupid. I know it's not like a flashy pick, but when you look at that offense, when you look at who's the play caller, the head coach, and the weapons that they have, there's always some spike potential. And if you're going to shit on Sam Darnold, then you are literally telling yourself that he is worse than Nick Mullins, because Nick Mullins actually had decent numbers last year. He had 2 games with at least 396 passing yards. When he was the starter, when he played the full game, he had at least 300 in every game. And this week 17 matchup against Green Bay, if you recall, he got benched for Jaron Hall, and then he only played in the second half. He put up 113 passing yards in only 2 quarters. So if you really believe that Sam Darnold is worse than Nick Mullins, then go ahead and laugh at me for hyping up Sam Darnold. But I don't see it that way. I think Darnold is far better than Nick Mullins. And I do not believe in JJ McCarthy as a rookie. I don't think he has enough snaps under his belt. I don't think he's old enough. I don't think he understands the quarterback position at the NFL level at this point in time. And given Darnold is in a contract season, really hoping to refresh his career, like if he doesn't get it done here, he's done. He's done in the NFL. But that's what we were saying about Baker Mayfield last year. They both took a similar contract. Darnold has the exact same $10 million contract that Baker Mayfield had last year, and he has very good weapons to play with, really good offense. Darnold is a valuable pick, especially here when if you don't make it past week 6, you're dead in the water anyways. So they have an early bye. I'm pretty sure it's in week 6. But at least those first 5 games, I know Darnold will be the starter. I'd be shocked if McCarthy was the starter before week 10, honestly. And that is why I will be taking him if I do not get sniped. We'll see if I get sniped, but that's who I'm planning on grabbing. But Jonathan says, I'd only laugh at you if you took McCaffrey. I think you mean McCarthy, because only Luke McCaffrey would be a bad selection. But I think I know what you're saying. And yeah, there's no chance I'm grabbing JJ McCarthy in this format, but I'm definitely grabbing Sam Darnold. And then we need a tight end. We only have one so far, and we're just looking for a floor play, but we also need someone that's going to be viable in week 12. So while I actually like Colby Parkinson's upside with Tyler Higbee injured, I don't think you're going to get any value from Parkinson in week 12 when Ingram is on bye for me. Jelani Woods is interesting, but not a pass-first offense. I don't think I'm going to do it. I would actually take Juwan Johnson if he didn't have the same bye as Ingram, but I'm not going to do that either. I am going to go with Hayden Hurst. I have mentioned Hayden Hurst on the live stream several times now, and I do think he's the tight end one in the Chargers offense. They don't have a lot of receivers. I think Hurst is poised for a big role. And if he puts up Gerald Everett-like stats, that is definitely going to be a high safety net at the position. And here in round 18, there is no risk. At the worst, we are drafting him at his floor as like tight end 25, almost like tight end 30 off the board. So I'm happy to take him. The early bye week is something I find irrelevant. We are heavily counting on Evan Ingram, one of the safest floor plays at tight end last season. And if we get anything from Hayden Hurst, it's just a bonus. We are just hoping that he puts up decent stats in week 12 with a few random touchdowns. And that's really the only thing that I want from my tight end 2 in this setting. So that's the team. That's how it worked out. We have Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold. We do have Lawrence heavily stacked up, but that's the only stack on this roster. We have ETN, we have Brian Thomas, we also have Evan Ingram, and hopefully heavily weighting our team towards the Jags offense does not burn me, but I think it's fine. I think having like multiple stacks is a bad strategy, but just one is not going to burn me at all. I think it's perfectly fine. Running back, though, we are living. We have Jonathan Taylor, Travis Etienne, James Conner, Zach Charbonnet, and Chuba Hubbard. Very competitive running back room in my view. Very, very safe. And then at wide receiver, we have Marvin Harrison, Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson, Brian Thomas, Jahan Dotson, Demario Douglas, Michael Wilson, and Tyler Boyd. A little bit thin, but I think it's very safe from a floor standpoint. And I do think Flowers and Deontay Johnson are going to keep us viable. The volume for Harrison will also be a big factor as well. So hoping for some spike weeks from Jahan Dotson in opportune moments. Douglas, good floor play. Michael Wilson pick up the slack when Harrison underperforms. And then Boyd, pretty decent floor play, hoping for some touchdowns. And then tight end, Evan Ingram, Hayden Hurst. I like this team a lot. I think it's very competitive. And in this format, I do think the reaches I made are justified. So that's it for this draft. Jeremy Wilk is asking, are we doing another draft? I don't think so. We do have 8 likes. Maybe I could do it, but the one I want to do would be, let's take a look at the lobby real quick. Let me peruse the lobby. There are no like super cheap drafts, like tournaments at the moment, other than the Scott Fish Bowl, and we already did a team on there. You got one Pit Bowl to fill up. I actually only have under $20 in my account. I would have to put more money into my account. I think I'm just gonna let that one fill for you, and pass. But I'd be interested in doing a 12-person $3 draft, but it's not filled at all. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna call it done today. But I'll be back on Wednesday, and maybe we'll do 2 drafts then. But I appreciate y'all for whoa, sorry about that. I appreciate everyone for sticking around. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button for me, like the video as well. And if you don't want to miss out on my next upload tomorrow, my top 30 running backs, then hit that notification bell and you will get notified as soon as that video is live. Also, as soon as I go live here on the stream for our next drafts. But until then, I'll see you next time. My name's Adam Riancho. Thank y'all for watching. Have a good week. Bye-bye.